Hey guys, Stealth here. Welcome to the War Room. It's already episode 55, so I've been doing this thing well over a year, and I gotta say, it's getting increasingly difficult to find new and interesting topics. Because, well, it feels like I've talked about a lot of different items already, and it just becomes really tricky to still find something that both you and I are still interested in. So today we're going to be talking a bit about World of Warships. Reason that we're talking about World of Warships is that I don't have a lot of business lately, and this is of course entirely up to me. If you're not familiar, I run a body language trainer business, which means I am a body language trainer. I train, for example, sales professionals in how they can make more effective use of their body language to get a better first impression, make sure they get more business that way, potentially read clients' faces to get the expressions right, and then react to that. Now, I am a complete freelancer, or a mercenary, as some people call it, and that means that I'm entirely responsible for my own business. So, some weeks I just don't feel like doing a lot of stuff. Let's just be honest about that. Some weeks I go, oh, you know what? I had a couple of good presentations the last couple of weeks. I have a decent amount of money in the bank, and I can live off that for a couple of months. Of course, that's not really an answer, because there are all sorts of future projects that you always have to be planning for. In my case, that's going to be marriage. It's going to be buying a house at some point. And eventually you run into this mindset of, bloody hell, I'm going to need so much money for all of this stuff. How am I even going to get that? What clients do I even like to work with? And then you run into what is referred to every now and then as a VCR problem. It's a term that was phrased by Mark Manson, who I've mentioned repeatedly on this channel before. Mark Manson has what he calls the VCR questions. VCR questions are basically the situation where, for example, and this is back in the olden days, where you owned a VCR and you had no idea how to use it. And as such, you wouldn't be able to use it, you wouldn't be able to record stuff. And people who don't know how to use the VCR would just go into a sort of blind panic of, help, I don't know how to use this stuff. I'm not even going to touch it. A bit like, I think most parents, let's say ages 50 and up, are with modern day technology. They are so concerned, so worried about doing something wrong, about causing some sort of damage to the device, that they just don't even dare touching it. That's a VCR problem. The interesting part about VCR problems is that those who have them, so those people who have a VCR problem, think it is a massive issue. Those who don't, so people like us, who are, for example, familiar with technology, who know how to work a smartphone, who know how to work a computer without breaking it instantly, know that it really isn't that big of a deal. That's a VCR problem. I've been having a bit of a VCR problem with getting clients. Because on the one hand, I know how to get clients. I mean, the answer is very simple. Just get on the email, reach out, get new clients. Period. On the other hand, it is a really demotivating process. Because out of the 100 emails I sent out, usually, and this is in a pretty good situation, usually I get about, I'd say 20 responses maybe, if that, 15 to 20 responses. And out of those 15 to 20 responses, only a couple of people will say, yeah, I'm interested, let's sit down and talk. But those numbers are just, you gotta go through so many people in order to get a positive, which is really cumbersome. And being as ambitious as I am, I like to make progress, and I like to make it fast, which means that a game like World of Warships is, on the one hand, my best ally, and on the other hand, my worst enemy. Because on the one hand, you can use this as a source of, hey, I'm making progress really quickly. So this is great, I'm going to spend more time at this. But there's the threat. Because when you start spending more time, I start spending less time on getting new business. I start spending less time on getting the new clients, and therefore I often find myself back again in a situation where my bank account is draining fast. I don't know what to do. I'm running for the hills, and mostly I'm running towards World of Warships or any other kind of grindy game, because there you instantly get those responses. You instantly get the response that says, hey, you did well, here's 2000 XP, here's 2500 XP, here's whatever. And that is, especially for me, a very, very dangerous situation to be in. And I don't know about you guys, but every now and then I get this idea of, at some point I'm going to have to stop with gaming entirely, because I just won't be able to afford it anymore. And not afford it in the sense of financial issues, but I just won't have the time. Or I'm going to actually get myself into so much trouble that I won't be able to do it, because I won't be making enough money to not just buy premium ships or whatever, but buy anything basically. And this is what we call the VCR problem. It's a question to which the answer is difficult to anyone who has them, but is very easy to anyone who doesn't. Now, if that doesn't make sense, let's just say that you're having a very, very hard time talking to girls. You find this to be one of the most complex things in the world, and you have no idea how to do it. I used to be one of them. The VCR question, or the VCR issue in this one, is I have no idea what to do. So the answer is difficult. But to anyone who doesn't have the problem, who doesn't have that shyness talking to girls, for example, they don't have the problem. Because to them, the answer is basically just do it. Just walk up, say hi, and talk. It's not rocket science, as you would say. But to people who have them, they're like going, oh, but yeah, but what do I say? How do I walk up? How do I make eye contact? How do I do this? How do I do that? That is what you call a VCR problem. In case you are ever finding yourself in a VCR problem, I always try to go for a solution where you go, okay, what would be the most likely first step? Or what would this look like if it were easy? It's one of my favorite questions. Tim Ferriss phrased that, I believe. Suppose that I wanted to get new clients, and suppose that was easy. How would I do it? Well, I could potentially reach out to, let's say, 5 to 10 new contacts every day. I would just scour LinkedIn, link up with people I find interesting, or who I think could use my services, and that would be the answer. Period. It's not more difficult than that. So if you are ever facing a VCR problem, then try to use that solution, because especially for me it has worked really, really well. Now that also leads me on to World of Warships, in the sense that, I don't know about you guys, but pretty much every game I play, I've had people go, yeah, noob team, a bunch of amateurs, just go play something else, go play Tetris is the famous answer to everything, it seems. And these people, I'm not going to say I don't understand them, because to some extent I do. I mean, it is so easy to blame everything on your team. So just blame your team for the fact that you're not winning. To blame the team for the fact that, once again, you died in the first 5 minutes. Or to blame your team for the fact that, once again, you didn't quite make the 1000 XP barrier, which is, as far as I'm concerned, really easy to get to. What I think those people haven't realized is what I have as one of my main principles. And that is the take responsibility above anything else principle. This is something that I don't always do, I think, but I try to do it as much as possible, because it irks me to no end if someone doesn't. By taking responsibility, I mean that, and it basically is, once again, summed up by Mark Manson in one sentence. He says, nobody else is ever responsible for your situation but you. And as he puts it, and I found this to be very, very good, actually, very funny. He says, with great responsibility comes great power. So, not the other way around. Not the way around of with great power comes great responsibility. Other way around. If you feel that you have all of this responsibility for everything that you do, you're going to be behaving in a much more confident manner, because you know that it's basically all up to you. You know that it's basically all up to you what you do, how you behave, and what the likely result is going to be. And people in World of Warships just don't do that, or at least not all of them. And that leads to these situations where they go, oh yeah, I died again, noob team, you're out of position, you're terrible. Hang on, you're the single constant in all of your games. How likely is it that I am responsible for your misfortunes? It's not my responsibility to back you up. It's your responsibility to find a good position for your ship and try to get into a position where your ship is going to be useful, not the other way around. And again, with my business, for example, I know that if I don't try and get clients, nobody else will. Nobody else is going to do that for me, and that's okay. I mean, that's just the way that I've decided to set it up. And yeah, I could potentially get someone to help me do that, but I haven't done that yet. And this means that when I get clients, I am responsible for the success of getting the client. When I don't get the clients, so when I see my bank accounts draining and have the feeling of, oh god, I'm going broke again, that's again entirely up to me. But the same goes, for example, in World of Warships. When I die in the first couple of minutes of the match and I'm platooning with some people, they just say, oh, bad luck or unfortunate. And I go, no, it's not. It doesn't have anything to do with bad luck or with bad fortune or whatever, or RNG. I mean, sure, it can be RNG sometimes, but let's not go there. Most of the time, it is just my own fault. It's just me not being in a good position for my ship. It's just not the right play. It's just not the right idea to go for that specific capture zone instead of going for the other one, for example. This is something that most people just have not discovered yet. Not exactly sure why, not exactly sure if they ever will, but it just irks me to no end. So, to sum it up, and this basically ties into that perfectly, make sure that you find something that interests you, that you take responsibility for it, or for whatever your progress might be. And during that situation, as once again Manson puts it in his book, learn to sustain the pain you've chosen. To be very, very practical about that, I know that I need to get my own clients. That's the pain I have chosen in this sense. That's the pain that I need to be able to work with. When you choose a new value, so for example, I'm going to get my own clients, you are choosing to introduce a new form of pain into your life, as he says it. Relish it, savor it, welcome it with open arms, and then act despite it. I know that my lifestyle of getting my own clients, taking my own hours, is on the one hand very, very liberating. I mean, if I don't feel like working for a day, I can get away with that. If I like working for 2 days, I can still get away with that. I could even take a couple of weeks off if I have done enough work in the previous couple of weeks to make sure that I can sustain that. So on the one hand, yes, it gives me a lot of freedom, a lot of extra time that I can spend however I see fit. On the other hand, there is the pain I've chosen, the bank account issue, as I already mentioned it. So that is my challenge to you this week. What exactly is the pain you've chosen, basically? And it could be anything. It could be something as simple as going to college and that was your choice, and then you have to live with the fact that every now and then you're going to have terms, you're going to have papers, you're going to have whatever. That's part of what you chose, part of what you agreed to take on, basically. Anyway, I think that's enough psychology for one Monday morning. What else is going on with the gaming at large? For World of Warships, to top it off with that, In case you haven't been paying attention to it, we have a bit of a silly situation as far as I'm concerned, because you can now get Steven Seagal as a captain for your ships. It is just a US captain. He gets 6 skill points. I don't really find him that special. He's apparently a big buddy of Putin. He has been in touch with Wargaming quite a bit, and he is now acquirable as a captain of World of Warships. I don't really see the point of it, but whatever. Maybe one of their ways to get more people interested in the game, or give them a bonus or something. The interesting thing about him is that for some reason you cannot dismiss this commander. Because some people were already grinding him just to be able to dismiss him because they hate him that much. I'm not going to say which party I am at, but I found that very, very interesting. Very funny to be that negative about a person that you want to immediately dismiss them when you get the chance. Anyways, he's going to have his own ship. And this own ship is presumably going to be the Missouri, which, in case that you have been following some of his movies, I mean, I think everyone has seen Under Siege. And if you haven't and you want a cheesy Saturday night movie, have a look at that one. Under Siege is basically Steven Seagal on an Iowa-class battleship, wiping the floor with everyone because they are taking command of the ship, taking command of, I think, the nuclear cruise missiles that were mounted on it or something like that. And he's going to get the Missouri in World of Warships. Specs are not known, so we don't know what kind of ship it's going to be, but it's presumed that it's an Iowa. It's just not sure what type. I mean, the Iowa is a tier 9, but we don't have tier 9 premiums in the game, and I doubt that for this guy they're going to make an exception. It's not very likely. So that means that it's going to potentially be an Iowa at tier 8. I don't really know what's going on yet. There's no news about that whatsoever. So we're just going to have to wait and see what is going to happen with that. And I'd say that's basically it for World of Warships. That's basically the most interesting thing that's been going on this week. For Wargame Red Dragon, we're going to have a new 10v10 map. And this 10v10 map is going to be released today. That is Monday 7th. There are some details known about it. There are some screenshots for the new map, but of course I'll be doing a video on it as soon as possible. I'll try to be on tonight, so if you want to be, or to probably get into a game with me, then be sure to go on the servers tonight, because I will be playing. And hopefully having a bit of fun with that new map. I think it's called Dragon something, I don't even know the title. I haven't been paying much attention to it because I thought, well, it's just going to hit sometime, we're just going to see what it's going to be like. But it's interesting that they're still introducing new maps. In case you're wondering, no, it's not a paid DLC, it's not something that you have to break out your wallet for. It's just a free map that is going to be given to the entire community, which is nice. So that is happening tonight in Wargame Red Dragon. As for the channel, in case you haven't seen it yet, be sure to check out the replay that I set up for a ranked match. It went live last Friday, and it's a match between 2 Brigadier Generals. It's a fantastic match. Absolutely fantastic. If that thing is going to teach you anything, it's going to teach you never to give up, even if you're behind way on points. So something like that, definitely worth a watch. And I have it as my channel trailer for an easy reference, and otherwise you can find it by clicking on the link in the description. As for other games, there is one game that's coming out this week that I find very interesting. I don't know if you've ever played one of the older games, Transport Tycoon. Transport Tycoon used to be a favorite of mine, because you used to set up your own transport network, and with that you could start out, I believe, in the 1950s, something like that. Oh, this is gonna hurt. You could start out in the 1950s and then build your way forward. So you started out with, I think, simple coaches, simple buses, your basic forms of transportation, and then it moved on to, I think up to and including maglev trains, so some of the most advanced vehicles available. There is a new game coming out that's very, very much resembling it, just with a lot better graphics, and from what I've seen, a pretty decent interface to go along with it. It's called Transport Fever. It's going to be available tomorrow. Currently it's on sale. You get about €4 to €5, say $4 or $5 discount. And it's going to be released tomorrow. That is Tuesday, 8th of November. I'm probably going to be covering it on the channel, having a look at it first, and if it's any good I'll definitely be sharing that with you, because I for one really like those games. It's going to be potentially another big time sink, because you want to keep expanding your transport network, taking on contracts, potentially researching new technologies so you can get your stuff from A to B faster. And there are a few videos already up on YouTube, so I'm going to link to a few of those so you can have a look and see if this game is anything for you. I would definitely recommend that you have a look at it, because I think it's going to be very good. And I hope to be getting that game very, very soon. And, well, that's basically it for this week. As I mentioned, it's getting harder and harder to find decent topics to talk about. And I hope that I kept this one interesting, despite it only being 20 minutes, but that seems to be more or less turning into the standard size for the War Room, as there's just not that much to talk about. If you have any questions or any topics that you would like me to cover in next week's War Room, then be sure to post those down below in the comments. Have a look at some of the links in the description. They are definitely things that I recommend. And otherwise, just have a good week. Have a good Monday, and I'll see you soon for more Wargame videos, World of Warships, Civilization 6, and probably Transport Fever. So thank you, have a good week, and I'll see you soon.